Welcome to Sunday Funday, Forrest Fenn edition. My name is G-Pro, and I'm joined by my co-host SharkLasars, and we have a very special guest, Forrest Fenn hunter extraordinaire and legendary 70s rocker Steely Dan. Oh, shit. I mean, Copper Dan. Copper Dan's doing something super cool. He has. Well, let's talk about that a little later, actually, because you are Copper Dan. Can we just call you Dan? Because Copper Dan.
You can call me whatever. Just don't call me late for dinner.
All right, I'll try not to do that. I'm taking off these glasses too. I don't know how people with glasses do it. That's crazy. So Dan, you're into Forrest Fenn. Secret community has a little bit of an overlap with Forrest Fenn, but not a whole lot. So would you mind just sort of a brief overview of what the Forrest Fenn hunt is? Like, how did Forrest Fenn how did the hunt get started, basically?
All right, well, that's a great question. So in 2010, so Forrest is at the time was around 80 years old, and he was an eccentric artist, gallery owner, multimillionaire, and he threw it varies on how much actual gold. There's like 270 double eagle gold coins and a bunch of other gold and jewels into a treasure box and hid it someplace north of Santa Fe in the Rocky Mountains. And then he wrote a poem. Put the poem in this book, The Thrill of the Chase. In fact, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but it's a picture of the chest. And I don't know how much you want me to touch on from 2010 till now, but it was found in 2020.
Well, what about your story involving the hunt? When did you get into the Forrest Fenn hunt?
So probably similar to how a lot of people got into The Secret. This guy named Josh Gase. Have you ever heard of him? Expedition Unknown. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Is that like a show? I don't know.
I don't know. We shouldn't plug his show. He's got enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, 2015, I'm watching TV, and I think it was probably like it might have been the original show on Forrest, but that show wasn't even done yet, and I had my book ordered, and I read it. It just wasn't the right time in my life to go searching. So fast forward to 2018, and I don't know. I think my book fell out of the bookshelf one day, and I went, oh yeah, I wonder if that thing's going on, and I jumped onto the internet. And a surprise that, like, not only is it still going on, but there's this YouTube community, and that's how I really got involved.
What brought treasure hunts have a hard time catching on, right? What brought so much publicity to Forrest Fenn? Was it Expedition Unknown? Was it like a quiet community before that, and then Expedition Unknown happened and it blew up? Or?
No, it was. Oh man, I don't remember the exact who, but somebody got it published and it got put on an airline, and the back of your magazine in the back of your seat, and that from there it just blew up, and he got picked up by major media, and then eventually onto Discovery and Expedition Unknown, and it just and there was hundreds of thousands of people out searching for this thing.
Okay, that's all right.
Did I?
No.
Sorry. I was waiting for a follow up.
No, it's cool. So I heard, and so it was eventually found, and since you're on our show, I'm assuming you found it. No.
No. However, I did get to meet somebody. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I don't know when you wanted to bring this to the show, but I got to meet. I am the only searcher that has got granted the honor of meeting the finder.
which is cool.
He has not done an interview with anybody, not, besides emailing back and forth, no one else is face to face with them. So it was like, it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool experience. So a long time ago, you were telling me you made a map, you framed it, you had Forrest Fenn sign it, and you guys sort of auctioned it off for charity. And then
let me just so I didn't make the map. Forrest, through Benchmark, when his book Too Far to Walk came out, took the back of the book, had a map, and it basically they blew this up into maps, and then you could buy them from Benchmark, and you could hang them on your wall and frame them. And so that's I got 2 of them and got both of them signed. One for the community to put in a frame and give away and raise money for St. Jude's, and the other was supposed to be for me.
Yeah, but then Forrest Fenn passed away. And you decided to do something.
September 7th.
You decided to do something else with that map.
Yep, I seen with the treasure being found, there's, of course, maybe just like The Secret, we have a little bit of drama, maybe some negativity, and I just needed to do something to lift the spirits up, or at least I hoped it would lift the spirits up of our community. So I knew I needed to outdo myself on my last frame. So my first frame was made out of walnut. Mm-hmm. It had, I carved in and inlaid copper arrowheads, made them myself. I cut out 9 of them to represent the 9 clues in the poem. It had some coins in the bottom. There's been some coins made for the Thrill of the Chase, kind of they call them searcher coins. And I got my hands on a couple and I inlaid them into it. And then you had the map. It was signed by Forrest. We used it to raise money. We raised just under $3,000, and it all got donated to St. Jude's.
Nice.
Fast forward a couple of years to now, I wanted to do something similar, but rather than walnut, I went to juniper. Actually, I went to cedar, which is kind of almost the same wood as juniper. I couldn't find the juniper in a kiln dried that I needed to make this frame. I could readily find the cedar, which the grain, it was like I studied up. I'm like, I'm going to go with this. And it turned out unbelievable. The arrowheads I wanted to use, but I had an ace up my sleeve. I know somebody that I'd inherited, but got most of his personal arrowhead collection. So not only are they real arrowheads, they're real arrowheads from Forrest's personal collection. And I purchased 9 of them. Then the top of we can show the frame too. At the top of the frame, I engraved in the Thrill of the Chase and laid copper into it. And Forrest liked to make things called doodles. And he learned this from his friend, Eric Sloan. And he got pretty good at doing it. So he would always sign people's books, and then he would put a doodle in it. And that little guy is one of his doodles. And this book that's signed like that, doesn't matter who you are, it only matters who they think you are, is probably his most famous saying. And this book that he signed that in is one of 2 that I know of, and I just happened to acquire.
Oh, nice.
So I took pictures of those, and I sent them to a friend with a laser engraver, and I sent him the piece of the bottom rail of the frame, and he lasered all that in, and then we added in memory of Forrest Fenn and his birth and to his death. And
that's nice. So
I made this very, very special frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people who you're asking people to donate to St. Jude, which there's a link in the description of this video, and then comment on your YouTube video, and whoever comments on the YouTube video is entered because of legalities. You can't make
so to make this thing completely legal, if you go to my YouTube page, and you guys can put the link in the description, or we'll show it. If you go to my YouTube video, you can watch the video if you'd like. I really go into a little bit more detail on what it went to make the frame and everything. And then in the comment section, as long as you don't comment anything vulgar, you're in.
Bradley, you're out.
And
That's okay.
I mean, you can even say, I don't believe Jack is the finder, or I think the whole thing is a hoax. That's not vulgar. So I'm not gonna, and it was, I hope the person that wins though does, like I've said, I put a lot of work into this, so I hope it's appreciated. And if you really don't believe in this, or don't think it's real, maybe you just go over to St. Jude's and throw a little cash towards the kids, and
Yeah,
and
it's a good
Yeah,
cause either way.
I think that's an amazing piece of art you put together, and definitely I would encourage everybody to participate in that, especially if they have followed this treasure hunt, if they have looked into it, if it's something they look for at some point in time. What I want to know is when this was found, when you first heard the news that this was found, what was your first reaction? Like, I know how I felt when we thought San Francisco was found. I know how I felt when I first heard Boston was found. What was your gut reaction whenever you first heard that this was found?
it was like getting kicked right in the gut. It was just like, because I guess deep down, I kind of thought it never would be. Or you always hoped, of course, I always hoped I would be the one, but I had plans. I mean, it was coming up in June. I mean, I was getting ready to set dates to go out and search for the summer. I had worked the winter on a new solve. This map right behind me is a large map of Wyoming. And so I was migrating to the correct state it was found in. I was previously more just over the border in Montana. Like, we're talking literally like just a couple miles from Wyoming. But yeah, I remember where I was. I was playing online poker with a bunch of searchers, and it broke, and literally we all stopped playing poker and just literally they just walked away, and we all jumped onto a YouTube show that we have over there, and it was just like, and we actually had one of the searchers knows Forrest's personal phone number and called him and said, "Is this for real?" And Forrest told her, "Yes, this is."
How was it broke? How was the news broke?
Forrest told Dale Neitzel, which ran the big website for the Thrill of the Chase, and he also sent it out to all the major YouTube shows, and
Wow.
it was
At least you guys find out in a
shocking,
timely
to say
manner.
the least.
At least they get to find out in a timely manner. We have to kind of
Oh,
wait around for our news.
Yeah, right.
oh, because of the way
Yeah.
because they used to. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. No, I think they wanted to get it out. Even the finder said, we need to let the community know, because people have died looking for this, so they needed to stop anyone else from,
Yeah.
or at least attempt to stop people from going out.
Yeah, we've done some crazy
but
things.
the one last thing I did to complete the map, the frame, was I had some email contact with the finder, some back and forth over about a 7-month period, and earned his, I guess I earned his trust, and he also knew of me in the community and knew that I wasn't out to do him any harm. And I reached out and I said, told him my idea of what I was going to do, and I said what would really complete this is if you signed the map too. And to my happiness, he not only said yes, but then I said, all right, can I send the map to you? And he says, well, why don't we just meet? And I about rolled off the back of this chair. I did not expect.
I can imagine.
I'm like, yeah.
I don't know how I would deal with that. Like, I've met some of the people that work on our book, and it's always been like the most nervous times in my life, because you have no idea what to say, you have no idea what to talk about, you don't want to say the wrong thing, you hope you don't piss them off.
That was exactly, you just described my exact emotion when I did actually meet him to it. That's just amazing that you said that, because yeah, it was, I set guidelines for myself so I didn't fall into that. And I told him, he actually already said yes. We had everything set up, and then I made rules. I said, okay, I'm not going to ask you anything about the 9 clues. I won't ask you about the treasure chest. I won't even talk chase. I said, if you want to offer anything up, I'm all ears. And that definitely helped the conversation stay nice. But we ended up, he ended up asking me a little bit about a few things, so it was nice to talk chase.
Yeah. Getting the report that the stream is choppy, so I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, Copper's connection I think is getting a little choppy, but I can hear everything fine.
Yeah, no, Chris told me that all of us are choppy.
Oh.
So, which means there's something on my end, and it's probably the fact that I'm downloading 800 things at the moment. So let's check that. And see.
Yeah, that can do it.
Oh, the life of a pirate.
Yarr.
So you keep here's the main differences between The Secret and Forrest Fenn. Where the things that I think we take for granted is when we're arguing about The Secret, we're arguing about parks and maybe cities. You guys were arguing about states. Like you had no idea up until it was found even what state it was in, right?
No, it was just so you had your northern searchers that searched Montana, Wyoming, and you had, I guess you had searchers in all 4 states. You had searchers, you had your hardcore New Mexico group, and then you had your hardcore Wyoming, Montana group, and 95% of people didn't think it was in Colorado.
Yeah, and it ended up being in Wyoming.
And it did end up being in Wyoming, and what's strange is that's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
For a fact that they released is that Wyoming. So
no, I don't know, Dan.
We narrowed it down to a state.
I've seen a lot of people say that they know the solution.
So, here's a question. Now, I'm a total newbie to this hunt. Well, I'm not new to it, but I'm an amateur. I'll put it that way. So my question is, from what little bit I know, everybody was convinced that it could not be very far from where he lived because apparently he left his house and came back in the same day when he buried it, or within a few hours. Is that true?
He hit it in an afternoon, and he had 2 trips from his car to the hiding spot. That really, that 2 trips thing, that really helped in your solve, because you had to figure out, okay, where am I going to park to where I need to go, and if it's kind of set a guideline for myself. It's really over a mile. You got to back them. It's 4 miles for an 80-year-old. That's hard for me. Depending on the terrain, that can really kick your butt. So, and I learned that the hard way. But after that, it actually is definitely more than a mile from where the closest spot you could park to. Otherwise, the solve just realistically, it even if everything fit, it kind of fell apart because it just wasn't a realistic thing.
And do we know if it was like if you were walking by, you'd be like, "Holy crap, what's this little box?" Or was it like covered with stuff? Do we know that? I know it wasn't like buried.
It does. But... So he did place it on the. So he would never say during the 10 years the hunt was on whether it was buried or not. It did come out from Forrest's words that he said the treasure chest was right where it was 10 years ago when I placed it there on the ground. He did say, no, it does sound like when Jack found it that there was a lot of pine needles over the 10 years that had really built up to almost, you could barely make out the top of the chest.
Oh, gotcha.
Is what. So I don't know if that's why Forrest didn't want to say it was buried or not, just simply because he didn't know, because maybe it may become buried Oh. But it certainly was not buried when he put it there. He just walked out, set it on the ground, which kind of contradicts. I mean, he said no one's going to stumble upon my chest. So then it was like, oh, it must be hidden under something in a crevice, and and it just Forrest used words as trickery, and every time he released a statement, it was analyzed and diagnosed and ripped apart, and but there was 7 different theories off of it, and so at the end of the day, it was kind of just what you thought.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Jawjude Palancar, what?
Yeah. So just to let you guys know, like the stream is super choppy, and it's something to do on my end. I don't know if my speed isn't. I don't know what's wrong, basically. So I'm recording it, and even if the stream sucks, we're gonna re-upload it. So there's at least that. But everybody's saying like it's something to do with me. It has nothing to do with Dan. So yeah, there it is. It's like every 2 seconds we drop basically all of our frames. It's weird.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'll just make an ace video then. That's all.
Yeah. I might actually maybe I can stop streaming and fix it. I don't know if I lower it down.
Don't have a bunch of people playing Xbox in the other room.
No, it's not that. I mean, I thought for a while that it was because I torrent like a crap load of stuff. So I thought for a while it was that, but I shut down all the torrents, and it's like, nope, just bad connection. I don't know. So anyway, you were saying Lisa Triggs' question, brother, because we're streaming now. We're back up now.
We're back up. Awesome.
We're back.
So Lisa was asking, what ghost town was it hidden near?
I have nobody knows where it was besides Wyoming. Jack, which is the finder. In case you guys didn't know, Jack Stuef was the finder of the chest. Did not release anything about the 9 clues, the solve, or any more of the location besides the fact that it was in Wyoming.
And that's it. That's all you got.
That's it. That's all I got. The rest is opinion based, and a popular opinion. Not everybody. So for people watching, don't freak out on me if this isn't you don't fall under this, but a lot of people think he can't give the solve out because it turns out it probably was in Yellowstone National Park, which creates a legal mess.
Yeah.
Because
we know all about that.
He not only, so when he released his statement, he found on June 5th of 2020, he actually found the chest and he left it.
That's crazy.
He went back to his hotel and contacted Forrest and asked Forrest's permission to get it, and then went back the next morning after sleeping in and retrieved it. And then he took it and he drove to Santa Fe and gave it back to Forrest. And then there's pictures, I don't have them with me, but there are pictures floating around online of when they went through the chest in an attorney's office, which turned out to be in Santa Fe.
No way in hell I would leave that in the middle of a forest. Nope.
Oh,
not gonna happen.
I don't. That's his story. Just sticking to it, and I think there may be reasons why, and if we were in his position, we would probably be saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is another example of why you always take somebody with you when you're treasure hunting, because in this case, you have somebody who sleeps on top of the chest, and you have the other person go do whatever it is that needs to be done. But anyways,
so sorry, Dan. Yeah, sorry, Dan, that we got you on the least pro secret podcast thing. None of us can see comments, I'm guessing.
I can.
Well, you know what? I appreciate it coming on because, this is all for charity. So if we can get the word out to a few more people, that's great.
Well, while we're actually streaming, let's talk about that. So when we left off, we were talking about a frame. You had a frame built. You had a map. You had Forrest Fenn sign it before he passed away. Jack Stuef, is his name Stuef?
Stuef, Stuef.
He signed it as well. And you have a page up on for St. Jude, which I'll have to go get now. And I'll post that in the comments where people can donate to St. Jude if they would like. And then there's also a YouTube video where if you comment on the video, you're just automatically entered to win the map
correct.
and frame.
And I do want to very much clarify that you do not have to donate to St. Jude's to enter into the drawing. And I would appreciate if you did donate, but it is not required.
Yeah.
So I always like to.
Yeah, but guys, this is an amazing. This isn't like just some like fun collectible. This is a piece of art that Copper's put together. Copper, you talked about the details of it earlier, but will you go through the frame and the arrowheads and everything again?
Yeah, so the frame is made out of juniper wood. I chose, so it's actually made out of cedar, which is almost a complete, it's almost like juniper wood. I couldn't get the juniper wood I needed to do this, so I went with cedar. I read up on it and found out that the cedar is very, very close. So that's why I chose cedar, but with all the layers of polyurethane on it, I didn't know cedar could be so pretty. But the reason we chose juniper/cedar is because Forrest, as always, he's talking about sitting around his juniper fire or sitting under a juniper tree. There's just lots of references in the Thrill of the Chase towards juniper. So that's why I chose that wood. It's got 9 arrowheads on it. The 9 arrowheads represent the 9 clues. And they're 9 actual arrowheads that came from Forrest's actual personal collection. He, somebody purchased them from him before he passed away. And I know that person, and the connections are great. And I was able to buy 9 from them and get them attached to the frame. I don't know if you're able to share a picture of the frame, George.
I can. Hey, if you throw me a picture, I will. Actually, I can get it off of your thing here. I think. No, I can't. Can you throw a picture in Messenger, and I'll just throw it up on the chat?
Okay.
I think.
You guys just let me.
Just try.
Yeah, I actually can. I think I can do this.
I love these glasses. I found them at Goodwill, which is the only place to find glasses like this.
They look like official Hello Kitty merch.
I don't know that if they are. They say China Chong on the inside. China Chong.
So they're not Hello Kitty. They're like Howdy Cat Cat.
Yes, Howdy Cat Cat.
What I'm trying to do. All right, here we go.
Gorgeous.
All right, there I sent you some more details of it. Let me jump back into the room here. There we go. So I'll let you share that, and I can talk about it a little more. The top of the frame, I engraved in the words "The Thrill of the Chase." In those letters, I inlaid copper. Being Copper Dan, you do such. The bottom of the frame. Actually, we did this in the last stream, but I'm going to just touch on it again real quick here. So this book with this quote, it doesn't matter who you are, it only matters who people think you are. It was a quote that Forrest said a lot. He actually signed this book with that quote, and he put a little doodle guy in the bottom. That was kind of his MO he did for a lot of searchers. I was actually able to take pictures of those, send them to a friend with the laser engraver, and downloaded it into his software, and he laser engraved the bottom of the frame. And when you get the pictures up, it will show that. And then I put in memory of Forrest Fenn, August 22nd, 1930 to September 7th of 2020, which was just the day after Labor Day.
Yeah, I threw the pictures in chat. It is gorgeous, man. And like the laser etching, the engraving on this is insane. Like there's something about craftsmen, like actual craftsmen, that blow my mind. Like the way that I know, like it's probably easy for somebody like you to carve out the thrill of the chase or have it engraved and then cut copper to such a degree that it would just fit right in an inlay.
It took weeks.
Yeah, that is insane.
I use I have my own little small CNC machine. but I am not the leading expert in it. And it took a long, I mean, the letters I used are a Western style themed letter, which fits the theme of the chase. You know, the copper, of course, is my own touch, but it also goes with a nice thing, the copper tone theme. The arrowheads, and of course, then it has this. So this, I think this is where we left off. We were talking about where did this map come from. So Forrest's second book, called Too Far to Walk, in the back of the book was this full-size map that showed the 4 search states, and they just basically blew this map up, and then you could buy them right from Benchmark. And I purchased a couple, and I sent them to Forrest. Forrest signed 2 of them. One got stuck away. One, of course, went into the first map frame that I did a couple of years ago. And then I decided to go ahead and give this frame away to kind of, I hope, cheer the community up a little bit of, you know, I suppose you guys get this in the secret too, where you get a little bit of negativity, a little bit of drama. And I just wanted to do something nice. So the last thing that I thought would just put the final touch on this whole masterpiece was I got a hold of the finder of the Fenn treasure, Jack Stuef. And and this wasn't just a quick email. This was many emails over many months and earning his trust. And
yeah, I can only imagine how, like, you know, sort of careful he is, just because of the amount of people. And
when I was, you know, and we were going back and forth early on, I had no narrative as in, I'm earning his trust to do this. It just happened to be like that we had a good back and forth, and I just literally one day, you know, come up with this map idea, and it just popped in my head. I'm like, oh my God, if I could get Jack to sign this thing, that would just be awesome. So I emailed him. Long story short, he said absolutely he would love to be part of this, love to sign it. And rather than send it to him, he said, why don't we try to meet up? And that happened this summer. I didn't know what that meeting was going to be like. Was it going to be like, I mean, I know we set up the where, the when, and the time, but I thought, I didn't know if I literally was just going to walk in with this map and unroll it, and he was going to sign it and maybe shake my hand and turn around and leave. I didn't know if he had people with him. It turned out he was by himself, and we found we were actually, well, I mean, I've told this, so it's not like it's a secret. We were at JFK Airport, and there's a meeting place in it, kind of a private meeting room, this Centurium Lounge, and we were able to get in there and get a table to sit at. And not only did he sign the map, but we talked for well over an hour and had a couple of beers.
Anything? Did you learn anything from Jack that sort of, because I know that the way the Fenn hunt ended left not really a lot of questions, but it left the community sort of being like, oh. And in one way I can kind of understand. I can understand Jack's point of view, but I also understand how the community was nervous. And that did meeting Jack, not necessarily things Jack said or Jack told you, but did meeting Jack sort of ease your mind a little bit about how the hunt ended? Or does that make sense?
It was neat when you email back and forth to people. You get a certain sense of what they're like. When you talk to someone on the phone, you get a better sense. When you can sit across from somebody one-on-one and talk to them, you can feel emotions. And what I got, when I really took away out of it, that I guess, I don't know if it surprised me, it was just interesting, is that Jack really does care about the community.
Yeah.
And which is why he didn't just take the treasure and just like disappear and not tell anybody. You know, he said, I need to come to the community and we need to let them know this is, you know, it's been found with proof. And so nobody else dies looking for this. And he also cares a lot about Forrest, which I know was a little bit in question with certain people. And I was able to, I think I was able to put that at ease with people, that he did very much care about both. So when he went to actually sign his name, I rolled the map out, and we had a couple jokes about. He's like, well, where do you want me to sign it? And I'm like, oh man, this is I have to say it. I'm like, well, how about someplace in Wyoming where the treasure was, And we had a laugh, and he offered. He's like, so should I put an X on the map? And I'm like, I'm absolutely do not put an X on this map unless you are putting an X on this map where it is, because it will create such controversy. I don't want, we certainly don't want. But anyway, so I come down to him signing it, and he was staring at. I said, why don't you put it right next to Forrest's or above it or around it? And he chose to do it under it, but he actually stared at the map, and he looked up at me and said, I just need a minute. And I realized how special and emotional this was to him, not only to me, that it was to him. And I didn't, I never thought about, what it would mean to him. And I guess for me, that really sealed the deal on a couple of things that I truly believe if he didn't find it, there was no way he would have signed his name to it. I don't think he would have allowed himself to do it. And I wouldn't have allowed him to sign that if I didn't think he was the finder, because this is the only map I have left that has Forrest's signature on it. And there's, they're not going to be anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why all these books I have with Forrest's signature, I mean, after when he died, I mean, they became a lot more special, which is, I hate it because I'm an artist, and I know your work is way after you die, because people know that you're not going to be making anymore.
Well, the treasure hunt that a lot of the people that are watching this follow, The Secret, is also as popular as it is for similar reasons. Part of the mystique of this treasure hunt is that the creator of this hunt passed away in 2015, and nobody knows where any of these treasures are. And nobody knows for certain where any of the 9 that are left actually are. So if Byron Price was still alive, was it 2005 or 2015? 2015?
5.
2005.
2005.
2005. Thank you. I knew I was off there.
I was wondering. I'm like, I'm not even involved in your treasure hunt, and I know this.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, thank you. 2005. But yeah, if he was still here, this wouldn't nearly be as intriguing as it is, because it's that sense of mystique and that story behind it.
Do you think if he was still alive, he would have given out additional clues? I don't know what he was like personally.
I don't just before he died. Just before he died, he made it a point to be like, I'm not giving anybody hints anymore, and I don't want to talk about this anymore. He only broke that rule with like one other person, like one searcher that he was a friend of.
Yeah, he changed the rules from mailing in a solution and receiving the prize to, you have to dig up the cask and present it to me, and I will award you the prize. Other than that, don't reach out to me.
Yeah.
I think there were.
Did Forrest ever have that sort of thing where you could just mail in a solution and he'd tell you if it was right? Or did you have to go get that back? Or you have to go?
You had to go. I mean, the chest was yours to take. You put it out there, go get it. But believe me, probably every single person, including myself, emailed them a solve.
Yeah.
And that just, so at one point, Forrest was getting hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. And and I just from this small thing I threw my email out there, and the first day I come out and say I got to meet Jack Stuef and all that. It was actually last Sunday that I launched this, and my email blew up, and I just had a small taste of what these treasure hunt promoters go through, with people just emailing them. I mean, you can only read and answer so many.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a couple of his responses, and they were all like short and sweet. He never wrote like a paragraph back to people. It was all like, "Good job, good luck, have fun."
Well, that's so. When I reached out to Jack the first time, when Jack outed himself that I am. I mean, for a long time there was a few months when nobody knew who we knew it was, and he was known as the shy guy from the East.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. I don't blame him now that he did come out, and I see what's happening. I absolutely, if this would ever come up again, a different treasure hunt that was major, I don't. As much as you want your 15 minutes of fame, you're gonna pay for it. You and unfortunately your family are gonna pay for it. Forrest had this thing he called people the 7%ers. So 93% of people are good, decent people, but there's 7% of the population that's a little bit and they always seem to be involved in our treasure hunts. And,
Bradley, I told Copper Dan the other day we should steal that. Although that's probably like the 27%ers, right? It's a little more.
Well, we're lucky. We have a phenomenal community. The people are out there. The people are out there, but the majority of those people don't last long in our community, no. They're either taken out by the community themselves, or if they're wild enough just crazy enough, then usually we just take. Well, I'm not an admin anymore, but when I was, we would just give them
or just remove them. Yes.
Well, Jack certainly wasn't like a Mike Colleen or a Chris Thor figure, but we did find out that he had his own YouTube page, and he had made a couple of small videos, or actually one small video.
Yeah, which was probably one of the best videos I've ever seen about treasure hunting.
Yeah, confirmation bias. If you guys, I would plug it if you haven't plugged it to your people. I
will plug it. Yeah, I'll put it in the comments.
If you follow those guidelines, it's just like for treasure hunting in general, good space stuff to follow. And
yeah, we actually I sent him a request a while back, like several months after that video was found, and I was like, "Hey, come! We want you to come on the show, but we don't care at all about Forrest Fenn's. Like, we don't want to know the solution. We don't want to know any inside stuff." I was like, "We want to talk about this video because it's legit one of the best videos a treasure hunter could watch. Everything in it is amazing." And he didn't answer. You're actually the third Fenn guy that we asked to be on the show, and you're the only one that said yes.
Oh my goodness!
The first one.
And look what happened. The whole stream crashed.
Well, you're in a great group of people, because back when it was me and JM, we made a comment about how Byron was a bad treasure hunter, or a bad puzzle maker, not treasure hunter, but a bad puzzle maker, and we were like, what would it be like if somebody now made a puzzle this big? We were like, well, Forrest Fenn did it. Let's see if Forrest Fenn wants to come on the show. So we emailed Forrest Fenn, and he was like, no. And then we emailed Jack, and he was like, nah. And we emailed you, and you came on. So you're in a great group of people.
I'm third fiddle, but I'm
third
here.
Fiddle to the dude that found the cast, and the dude that found the treasure, and the dude that made the treasure.
Yeah. And Jack actually told me, I had my suspicion when we did meet, and he said, you do know you're the only person I don't know if he used the word granted or what his word was, but that has gotten to sit down with me face to face. And with
cool.
that, I had pre-set up guidelines. Now, these were not Jack's guidelines. So Jack had already said yes to meeting. I had my flight booked. We had the date, the time, and the place. And I emailed him and I said, so look, I just want you to know this. I said, I will not ask you anything to do with the 9 clues or where the treasure was. I just want you to set your mind at ease with that. And basically, I won't even talk chase. I said, but if you want to offer anything to me, I'm all ears. Talk away. And it was, if you would, I wrote the night after that, literally that night I got back from meeting him that night, I put my phone on voice to text and I opened up Google Docs and just talked about my whole day. I needed to, you start to forget things, and I wanted to get as much as I could on paper. And when I was done, there was only 7 pages, and I edited it down to 6. But there is a PDF doc floating around that you can read.
I will. I'll upload that on like 12 Treasures and post a link for everybody.
Yeah, it's the accounts of my day and getting to meet Jack and what it was like, what I was feeling, and a little bit what we talked about. And
crazy. I remember having that same sort of thing. Bradley, remember when we met John for dinner and we were like, we won't talk about the secret. We won't talk about it all. And dude basically sat down at the table and he's like, so where do you think they're at? Or something. Like it was, we made that agreement. Like we will not talk about this subject at all. But it was like,
and it's so funny that you did this, that you set the same guidelines, and the guy you sat down with, I mean, after we signed the map, Jack goes, so, tell me about yourself. And he just leaned back in his chair and just kind of smiled. And I'm like, he feels like Forrest right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to cut me off guard. And I went, okay, I'm going to tell him the story about my dad, which is the most special story for me about the chase, and how him and I mended a relationship and went searching for the treasure in Yellowstone for 6 days. And how I drugged my family, my wife and kids, into the Tetons near Jackson Hole. And as my kids say, Dad tried to kill us. So rule one for Flatlanders: if you go into the Rocky Mountains at elevation, acclimate yourself or bring oxygen with. You can get small oxygen bottles that weigh nothing. You could throw them in your pack, because I got elevation sickness, and I thought, maybe
that's why I don't like hiking with you, Bradley. I don't have enough air in my head.
The elevation here is nowhere near high enough to be experiencing that.
Well, whatever. Maybe it's
I'm in
just
the
because
mountains
I'm lazy. I'm lucky that all of my treasures are right next to very fancy hotels and really, really nice restaurants.
So do you guys see a chat? Do you guys have a chat that you can see? Is there questions?
Yeah, there's a chat.
Does everybody know? Does everybody know about the Fenn treasure? First of all, I mean, we talked about it when we went live before, but I don't know how many people are the same people.
Oh, I'm sure everybody. They follow us. I'm sure everybody knows about the Fenn treasure.
All right.
One guy,
I would not make that assumption. There's going to be people out there that don't know. Yeah, no, absolutely. There's going to be people in our community that are diehard secret fans that got into treasure hunting from the secret and don't know of any of the other big treasure hunts out there. I'm sure there's people in the community like that. And I was going to bring up earlier, you were talking about the hunt and you kind of glossed over it real quick. And you were talking about the gentleman who found this treasure. He felt there was an urgency to get the information out there for several reasons, but one of them is because people have literally died looking for this treasure. And I mean, that's insane. I mean,
that's insane to me.
Yeah. I mean,
when you throw enough money into it, and even myself, when you're out there, you do some things that maybe looking back, I probably shouldn't have did that. And it's just unfortunate for 6 people that they went, yeah,
a little too far.
And Forrest, because of the first couple released, it's not underwater, it's not in a cave, it's not in an outhouse,
it's not somewhere an 80-year-old man couldn't go.
Exactly. Right? And unfortunately, people still didn't listen, and they were rappelling down sheer wells in Yellowstone, and I'm like,
I always thought if this was found, people were going to be like, just kind of like they have with the secret, where they were going to be like, that solution was kind of mesh.
I truly believe if when whatever this comes out, I think even Forrest at one time said that you're going to be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So
it's crazy how people sort of overthink things. And Forrest Fenn, like the Forrest Fenn hunt, some of the searchers over there, they're kings of overthinking things and making like weird connections where stuff doesn't exist.
It's really amazing. So the Forrest Fenn hunt is what brought me into treasure hunting. And I've learned so much about how to look at things and how to look at them very, very detailed, or to look beyond what's obvious. And that's when you really start to see stuff. And there are some really great minds out there. And I'm sure you guys have the same, the same thing. But once in a while, somebody comes in that nobody knows, and they find it. And isn't that similar? Your Boston cache, is that the guy who come in and did it wasn't like on all the forums and maybe nobody even knew him. He was just like out of the blue, guy comes in.
There's a lot of parallels.
One of the weird things about Krupat was that he was in a lot of the social groups. He was in our page, but he wasn't an active member as far as commenting, but he was a member for some time before he found it. So he knew, I'm assuming he knew us, but no, we didn't know him because he was an active member.
He knew us.
So it's very strange. But yeah, he knew us. You were asking earlier about comments, and we do have some comments. Donna says, beautiful cat, Bradley. Thank you. Her name is Princess Leona. She is awesome. But more importantly, Troy asked, did Copper Dan attend any of the Fin festivals? So Copper Dan, you were talking about the Fin festivals earlier. You want to touch back on that?
So I unfortunately never went to the big one, which was called Fenbury. Unfortunately, Fenbury usually happened in August, and in August I'm an artist, and it's really hard for me to get to those because I'm at art shows. I'm traveling. It's my busy time of the year. But there is there's something called the World Series of Fen that was created 4 years ago, and it's a poker tournament, and it's in Vegas, and we have Bally's run it for us. I shouldn't say us. It's not my tournament. It's actually Chris and Mike's that they sponsor and got running. But it's like it grew. There's like 100+ people that come to this, and it's more than a poker tournament. Obviously, it's everyone getting together and they're talking solves. And it's what's really neat is all the drama that happens in the forums and on YouTube when people get in person.
It kind of goes away, I bet.
Okay, it goes away. Like, I don't think anyone's ever caused trouble. It's just, it is just super fun.
Yeah.
And then the other one, and this is just the most bizarre ending to a story. You could not script this any better. I mean, or worse, however you want to look at it. Last September on Labor Day, they had the Forrest Fenn finale is what it was called. And it was for all of us to get together and one last time, because the treasure had been found for it. No, Forrest obviously hadn't passed away yet. And we get together, we had a blast. Forrest was actually like emailing people saying, say so, hi to so-and-so, and he was personal message, like more than he ever has. And I flew in on a Friday. I flew home on a Sunday. Monday, I don't remember exactly what I did on Memorial Day, but on Tuesday I was back in my studio working, and right around noon, a Facebook message popped up, and it was from a respected searcher, and it said Forrest passed away. I'm like, oh, get out of here! But I'm like, he wouldn't do this. This person would not joke about this. And I clicked open the article and I went, no, this just cannot, no. And I know somebody that knows the family very well, and I called this person, and it was tears. It was just, I was like, no. I was just, I couldn't even work. It was like losing your grandfather to me. It was. So yeah, and so we have the Forrest Fenn finale, and the next day, which actually he passed away. We found out he had passed away on Monday.
Does anybody know? Does anybody know how he passed?
I think as far as
artifact.
yeah, as far as I know,
Was
it was
money
just,
like 90 something? So maybe
yeah.
it was just old days.
So Forrest turned 90 on August. So the treasure was found. So the treasure was found June 6th. August 22nd, Forrest turns 90. September 7th, he dies.
Oh.
I mean, that is way too much to throw at a community with it, not even in a year, but literally with inside a couple of months of each other. It's like, wow. And it was like, so you think it would be done, but here we are over a year after the treasure's been found, and there's a good portion of the community that is still like YouTubing, you know, 2-3 times a week. Yeah. Of course, now it's different. Now the whole narrative is changed to where was it and how can we figure it out? Because Jack has chosen for his own reasons between him and Forrest that they don't want the location revealed because they don't want it. They don't want the location destroyed.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Like, I can understand that, and I think like his choice has the possibly unintended consequence of actually keeping this hunt alive, because when you have the answer, this hunt's dead. It's all dead. There's no more tubers. There's nothing to talk about. There's no community. There's no World Series of Fenn. There's no none of that. But good night, buddy. But when you don't have the answer, you still have something to strive for. So that community can still exist. You know, it can still work together. So I mean, I know people don't like it. People don't like him not giving out the answer, but that means the answer is still there for someone to find.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the questions we get pretty often is, don't you want all of these to be found? And for the secret, and for me personally, no, because that takes away from the adventures. You know, I don't have somewhere to go with my friends and dig silly holes and poke the ground and have beers and have great food. And,
you know what? I think me and probably a good portion of everyone you would talk to in our community would say that the number one thing that was taken away from this was the friendships that were built.
Yeah.
I mean, there were two searcher weddings. They met each other because of the thrill of the chase, and they got married. Mike and Christy being one of them.
I mean, that's awesome. It's just awesome. Like, I know people always say that, like, it's so like lame when people are like, the real treasure is the friends you made along the way, but it's kind of true.
It's
you know,
it's cliche, but it's 100% accurate.
It is. It's Forrest said it's not the trove. It's I'm trying to remember how he put it. It's basically it's the chase they sought and not the treasure. You know, what you enjoy about all this is the searching. Yeah. The looking, and at the end of it, you know, when you find it, it's like, oh, it's done. And I think for Jack, from if you really read into his words that he wrote, you know, because I asked him, that when we first started emailing, that's what I came at him with. I wasn't like, where's the treasure? What were the 9 clues? I'm like, can you describe how you felt when you found it? And it was not. What he wrote back was not what I thought. It wasn't that jubilation and joy and screaming. It was almost sadness. Like, all that work, you know. I suppose maybe I was wondering if you talk to people to sports people that have won like a major, like a Super Bowl, like, was there jubilation, or was it like, oh my God, it's done, and now we have to, except for them, they get to go start over in another year. For this, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we can't really compare the secret because the finders for the secret just start working on another puzzle. So,
right. Exactly. I mean, you got the nice thing for you guys is when you got
9 left. So
you got 9 left, and I hope they're still there, and I hope you guys can.
So I got 3 questions for you after Bradley asks this one.
So Andrew Colin in our chat wants to know, they read somewhere that the finder of the Forrest Fenn treasure mentioned they may put something in the place of where they found it so that people that still want to try and figure out where it was may stumble upon it and find it themselves.
That is false.
You know
that is 100% false.
That's false. Okay, well there we go.
He's been asked multiple times that question, and he said he has no.
I mean, people.
He's not going to.
If we're honest, it's crazy. Like, there's respectable searchers out there that would go and they would, you know, feel sort of humbled in the presence of the place where it was found, but there are some crazy ass people that would destroy that place.
And that's yep. And I think at one time Forrest had absolutely intended on, if someone were to find it, I think they even have him on video saying it, that I will release. But I think things changed.
Yeah.
You know, over the 10 years of the chase, it definitely evolved and it changed. I mean, I talked to you off camera about, I mean, the crazy people. Some guy tried to break into Forrest's house with an axe. Somebody tried to kidnap his granddaughter, saying she was the treasure.
What?
Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
Oh, I know about the house thing. I've never heard of the granddaughter thing. That's
it was just multiple lawsuits, and just
I mean, to be fair, Bradley, she's a great lady, and I really wanted her to come to the house, and I'm sorry.
George, I told you to stop kidnapping people. So to everybody in our community, these boxes are not worth really anything financially. Don't go kidnapping people. It's not going to get you anything.
Yeah, it's going to get you. You're going to get, what you're going to get out of is your 15 minutes of fame probably, and you're going to get to say I found it, and that's probably more than anything. Right. So even for the Forrest Fenn hunt, to actually be that person that say I figured that puzzle out.
Simon's posting. Apparently, there's a letter that some crazy searcher posted with Forrest Fenn's knife. You know anything about that?
A naturist lady? I don't
know. He says, quote, that letter that crazy searcher posted with his knife.
I don't. There's probably some. It could be.
That's probably one of the crazy people.
I don't remember.
So
I know about that.
So Dan, here's my question for you. Jack hasn't let a lot of stuff out. He's had a couple of like Medium articles, and that's about it. Sent some emails back and forth that get analyzed to death, and now people are sort of analyzing his Reddit. It seems like people are analyzing his Reddit posts. You are the only person that's met this man, and when someone is in the spotlight but no one's ever met them, no one's ever spoke to them, it's very easy to sort of draw your own conclusions about them, and those conclusions tend to lean towards the negative. Right, especially when you're over analyzing things people have done, you sort of fill in the blanks with negative things. You being the only person that's so far that's met him, I'd like to know what your opinion of him is in person. Like, what was he? Did he seem like a decent guy? Did he seem like a respectful guy? What was your opinion of him after having met him?
Definitely a sincere guy. Emotional, caring, young. I actually told him that. I'm like, yeah, I met him. Like, God, you're pretty young. I mean, he's in his early 30s. And he goes, I hear that a lot. Yeah, and I go, well, you know, people say you couldn't have found it. You weren't in the chase long enough. And he's like, I was in the chase for over 2 years. And I'm like, these are people that look for 10, and he kind of, I think he kind of understood. I said, I think you were just able to look at it in a different perspective, and he nodded his head.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I see a similarity with Jason, because I was finally able to talk to Jason, the Boston guy. And I sort of feel the community, and me too, I'm guilty of it too, has done what I said before, where we insert negativity into voids in our knowledge of the people. And after having met him, I sort of feel the same way you do. He seems like a nice, respectable guy. He has a much deeper understanding of the hunt than I expected. So yeah, I was just curious if it was the same with Jack, because I feel like when we don't know that much about people, we really do just project negativity upon them, and it's unfair.
Yeah, and
And
I think
thought,
he was, you know, he used to be a writer. He was a writer for the Onion, and he was going to school to be a doctor. So he certainly wasn't an idiot.
yeah.
And I think he knew how to keep. He was probably very organized, and even though he was in the chase a short amount of time, all things considered, if you look at the chase as a 10-year hunt, he was only in it for a short period of time. He was quickly able to figure things out, and I think a lot of it he had to do was, well, at first I thought maybe he didn't watch the YouTube channels, and that's what did it, because that's what my wife told me. And because if you went to bed on those YouTube channels so much, you might have found this thing yourself. But in actuality, we did find out he was in the shadows. You know, he just wasn't the Copper Dans or the K-Pros or the Mike, you know, the big names of the faces of things.
Yeah.
But he certainly was there, and he kept. I know I'm rambling all over the place here,
No,
but
it's fine.
you know, he was able to. I think he was just able to keep organized and.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't really make him any less legitimate either. Like, I think sometimes, especially people who are really big in the community, kind of feel like if someone is not constantly talking and communicating with the community, then really all they're doing is sitting back and taking ideas from people. When that's not always the case, you know. Sometimes people just don't want to talk. Sometimes people love the hunt, love the community and the interaction without actually interacting. You know,
right.
And maybe that was him. Like, just because he
Now,
didn't say anything doesn't mean.
Yeah. Now here's a $1 million question. If you put something out that someone else uses and finds the treasure, did they steal your idea? I mean, if you post it on a YouTube channel for all to see, and I don't know where, and I don't know where if Jack did that. I know he did watch, you know, the bigger YouTube channels and some of the some of the smaller channels, and probably just like all of us did.
I think
my feeling on that.
Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, yes. Say my feeling on that is so it depends on the person and what they're in the hunt for. Like me personally, when I come up with an idea, I try to throw it out there, and if it's not, you know, an X marks the spot. And it's an idea I have, I try to throw it out there so somebody can run with it. And, you know, if that helps the community come to a solve that actually finds a cask, that's awesome. If that person at some point reaches out and says, hey, I really appreciate, you know, I wouldn't have actually figured this out if you wouldn't have said, you know, blah, 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 which made me think of this and that. You know, that's going to make me feel really good. But you know what? I want these solved, and that's really the end goal for me. I want to figure out these puzzles. I want to figure out how they work, and I want to enjoy my time doing it. Would I love to find a cask? Absolutely. But am I going to be actually angry or feel cheated if somebody uses information I put out there? No, because that's why I'm putting it out there. Now, I can speak from firsthand experience of individuals that reach out to me and they ask for help. I'm like, sure, I'll try my best to help you. Like the most common thing is people are like, well, I need to know how to get permission to dig somewhere. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll try and help you. Where are you trying to dig? And they're like, well, I'm not going to tell you that. Well, okay, well, I can't help you unless you tell me. I don't want to know necessarily your ex. I just need to know your general area so I can help you get permission. And they're like, well, never mind. You're trying to steal my solve. Yeah. You reached out to me, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that sounds familiar, just in a little bit different twist, but it sounds very familiar.
I mean, I feel like 99 probably not that, maybe 75% of searchers would all have the same answer to this question. And I'm going to ask you, Dan, to answer it too. If you could only have one of two things, which would you rather have? That Forrest Fenn's chest full of gold, or the answer to his puzzle?
The answer to his puzzle.
That's it, right? That's what's important to most of us. Most of us want to know the answer. They want to be able to figure out, you know?
That's why we're puzzle solvers, you know? Before I was a treasure hunter, I didn't know I was going to turn into a treasure hunter, but I loved math, and math is like a puzzle. You know, there's a question, there's a solution, and an answer. And right now we have the question, and we don't have the solution nor the answer. And,
Yeah.
and it's all conjecture and speculation. And for now.
Yeah.
I'll take
So
that
that
a
was
step
actually-
further. I don't just want to know the answer. I want to know how you're supposed to get to the answer. For instance,
Yeah.
so Boston was the first and only cask found after Byron's passing. And Boston is very unique in the fact that we all know where it was found, but there's a lot of controversy on how you get to that solution. I mean, George thinks that it's Ironsides. I think it's a metal fence to a ball field, but whatever. There's conflict on how the puzzle is supposed to be solved. So I don't just want to know where the X is. I want to know the equation that gets you to the X.
Bradley, you want to hear something cool that Copper Dan's probably not going to care that much about, but you will?
Go for it.
After talking to Jason, I got to figure out, I got to message him and figure out how this can be said and if it can be said, and I hope he'll just come on and talk about it. We know exactly where that cask was buried in Boston. Exactly. Nice. Like there's no more 10-foot ring around a certain part of a vault. Exactly where it was buried.
Good to know.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway,
have you guys ever heard have you guys ever read or heard the poem, Forrest's poem?
Yes.
Yes.
The only thing I can ever remember off the top of my head is something about
where warm waters halt.
Something about the brown.
Yeah, the home of brown. Is there anything in that? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, do you want me to rattle it off quick for you, and then then go through it quick?
Yeah.
That's cool. No,
yeah.
As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secrets where, and hint of riches new and old. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of brown. From there is no place for the meek, the end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down, your quest to cease. But tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know, I've done it tired and now I'm weak. So hear me all and listen good, your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. So Forrest, go ahead.
I was going to say, that reminds me, is it true that when Forrest started this hunt and he put this treasure out there, that he was not expecting to live much longer? Like he thought this was like his last, like he did this thinking he wasn't going to come back. Is that true?
So Forrest got cancer in 1988, and this is where the idea of this was developed. But he didn't. So, like Forrest said, so what screwed things up is I got better. He had planned with his last dying breath to go hide that treasure chest and throw himself on his body on the treasure chest and die, commit suicide and die, just like his father had. And he goes, but it got, there's a video of mother saying, but then I got better and it screwed everything up. So then you fast forward to 2009, 2010, when he decided he spent 15 years refining and developing the puzzle, which is the poem, to find this. And then finally, I think 2010, it just felt right. I think if you remember the economy back then and things where he just wanted to give people hope and he wanted to get people out into the wilderness again. I think, he talks about kids just sitting at home on their texting machines. I think we're guilty of that too. So, and I think in a big part, he did accomplish that.
That is the most metal thing I've ever heard. Like I have to do, Bradley, I have to do that. If I ever get cancer and like I'm going to die soon, I'm going to hide a chest of gold in the woods, put out a poem, and then like lean over it and just blow my brains out. And then people have to search for my body and then physically move it to get my money. That's what I want in life now.
So the
That's kind of metal.
So the poem, in theory, begins. Forrest
goodness.
actually did say the first clue in the poem is "Begin it where warm waters halt."
Yeah.
So what I think consensus is that the first stanza then would be to help point you to where warm waters halt, and then you take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk. You put in below. The Homer Brown is another. I'd love to know what that is.
It's gonna be like trout, right?
I think No Place for the Meek is like a crossing. We always felt it was like crossing a river, crossing something. And then the whole thing, the first time you read it, it screams waterfall. But Boris is, and not so but people have said that he's like, I don't know why people always say waterfall when they hear my poem. And I'm like, well, it's because you got heavy loads and water high in there. It's just, but anyways, I don't know if there was a waterfall involved or not.
Yeah. I don't know.
But then it ends. So it begins at begin it where, and then it ends at your quest to cease. And that's the meat and potatoes of the poem. The rest of the poem is supporting. That's my opinion. Many others would agree with me. Some probably won't. But
Well, guys, we're past the 10 o'clock mark, so we should probably start wrapping.
Yeah.
But I do want to remind everybody, we are talking about Finn tonight because Copper Dan, actually, you can say it way better than I can, Copper Dan. Talk about your frame one last time and what you're doing with it for charity.
Yeah.
So you can see the picture on the screen share there. If you go to Copper Dan YouTube, my YouTube channel, you will find there's an 8-minute video that explains everything in the comment section. Feel free to leave a comment. If you comment, you are entered. If you also feel like you have a couple bucks to give, in the comments section, there is a link to the St. Jude's fundraiser that I'm running. And you can give as little as $5 and as much as you want. Again, you do not need to give to St. Jude's to enter into the contest. It's something I did to try to bring some joy back to our community, and at the same time raise some money for the kids at St. Jude's. If you don't know what St. Jude's Children's Hospital is, families with kids with cancer go there and they don't pay 1 penny out of pocket. So that's the last thing they need to be worrying about is, how am I going to pay for this when your kid has got the worst disease in the world?
And guys, if I'm not mistaken, St. Jude's Children's Hospital is also John Jude Palancar's favorite charity to give to as well.
Oh,
Yeah, he was named after St. Jude.
Yep, John Jude, St. Jude.
it's meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So please go in and donate to this charity if you've got the means to do so. I'm going to say it. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to encourage you that if you are not a fin hunter, if you're not into this, don't go and just comment to win this, because this is an amazing piece of art that deserves to be on the wall of somebody that's really going to cherish it.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to cherish this, don't just go comment and enter the drawing that way. Just don't do it. It's not going to be the right thing to do.
If you do choose to, and you do win it, and you're just like, this doesn't have the meaning to me like it would to a fence searcher, we could make arrangements. I know it's been discussed about possibly getting it displayed maybe in a place in West Yellowstone, like Bullwinkle's or something. That is just me speaking off the top of my head, though. I don't know that we can make that happen. But anyways,
yeah, that would be amazing.
I like your idea. If you really don't want it,
Don't
maybe
comment.
not. Maybe don't enter.
Give St. Jude all your money, though.
We'll
Yeah,
take
like,
your money.
Totally do that.
Yeah, I mean, like Arthur is one of our community members, and he is an amazing artist. And he recently did a custom mold, created this amazing replica of a very relevant image to one of the hunts in our hunt. It's super labor intensive. It's amazing. He's only able to make like 12. Well, he ended up making a few extras just because he's awesome like that. But anyways, what I'm getting at is I think it's amazing, but I know that there's other Montreal hunters that are going to appreciate that more than me. So I did not comment and try and purchase one because I want that to go on the bookshelf or a mantle of somebody who's really going to appreciate that because they're super into the Montreal hunt. So treat this with the same respect. Unless George bought me one.
I bought you one.
And if George bought me one, then what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to use it as a charity piece, and I'm going to do something with it so that a Montreal hunter who wanted one, who couldn't get one, is going to get one.
Cool.
So that's what we're going to do. So yeah, let's help out. Let's donate to this. Copper Dan, thank you so much for your patience, for dealing with us and me learning how to do a Facebook Live group video.
I'm glad we were able to get it done. The drying goes till next Sunday at noon Central Standard Time. It actually ends. I designed this to end on Forrest Fenn's birthday. Would have been his 91st birthday. It ends at noon. Sometime that evening, probably now, maybe a little earlier, I'm going to try a live stream, and we're going to use comment picker is what's going to pick the name. That's why I chose YouTube to enter, because it's just very easy to use an app that auto generates a name. It's all random and just quick and easy to do.
Nice.
That's super awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, your personal stories. I know it's not about secret, but it's so cool to know.
Yes, it was awesome. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next Sunday.
Good night, everybody.